who can come in there with integrity, because scandal after scandal, that's just not what this university stands for.
Yeah, I mean, scandal after scandal legitimately is what this university is standing for. They are. I mean, they fought back every chance they could at every scandal along the way. They've done a collective grouping of shady things. Like, this university has stood for scandal after scandal. They have. All right. So I stumbled into this on the timeline, and this is Jay Book tweeted this. Isaiah Hole reporting that big boosters at Michigan hired lawyers and private investigators weeks ago to dig dirt on Sherrone Moore. His own boosters were working behind the scenes to get him out of there.
This isn't like
a clip yet, but I did see the tweet, and it's funny because Michigan media has this like kind of toxic nature to them, and not all of them. Obviously, there's really good ones, like Johnny Olden does more of commentary, like podcast. That group. There's the Yoder group. Yoder does a really good job, kind of all around. Now, there's this group that has this weird toxic nature that they want to let everybody know. Look, we had it, because we're just gonna play it.
Bank robbery with cameras. Like, this isn't like a bank robbery with cameras and paper trails and, marked bills and things of that nature, right? Like, you're not going to fire your head coach based off of a rumor. Certainly, like, that's just not what's going to happen. So you had to have evidence. And that's kind of when they started. And I know that amped up leading into the Ohio State game. And I believe it was the Monday of the week of the game. It was Monday or Tuesday, I believe, the week of the game, not the week before. And I'm trying to get my memory right here. But that there was a group of donors who had hired lawyers, maybe private investigators. I'm kind of trying to figure that out, to try to drum up evidence, with the idea that, not drum up in terms of like create, but drum up in
be careful. This is crazy, because here we go. The same media who do everything they can to protect the university and like provide the shield, they now are coming out and trying to prove to you that, look, we knew all this while it was happening, because there's also like an innate, like, I need to prove that I'm still an insider and prove that I knew first. And what they're doing is, in an attempt to like rebuild trust with their audience, they're also making the University of Michigan look bad and make the job look less attractive, which kind of undercuts themselves in kind of what their overall goal is. So they're kind of at a lose-lose spot, right? And I haven't listened to anything Sam Webb has done, but I just, a lose-lose spot again.
In terms of actually procuring actual evidence, with the idea that regardless of what had happened in the Ohio State game, that Michigan would depart with Sherrone Moore after the season. Now, I had kind of believed, based off of just Michigan's actions, that they had not gotten that. And that proves correct, in terms of there is no world in which Michigan is allowing Sherrone Moore to hire Kerry Combs, or have a press conference on Monday, appear on the teleconference on Sherrone Moore, in terms of believed, based off of just Michigan's actions, that they had not gotten that. And that proves correct in terms of.
Hey guys, we hit 8K. Big thank you. Make sure you continue to like and subscribe. We'll be here covering this thing start to finish, and also drop a comment below. It all helps us as we continue to grow. Road to 10K.
There is no world in which Michigan is allowing Sherrone Moore to hire Kerry Combs, or have a press conference on Monday, appear on the teleconference or the Zoom conference for the Citrus Bowl, and all of that kind of stuff earlier in the week. That none of that would have happened if Michigan was like, we've got the goods, we're just kind of biding our time, right?
So it makes you wonder what. Now, they would maybe do those things if they were performing a coaching search in the background and got at least a comfortable list of names that they're okay with firing Moore for, or if it is true and the girl who allegedly was having the affair with them, came forward and spoke to the university. I mean, the whole thing is a mess. And I oftentimes wonder about these investigations that Michigan does. And I think if they want to find something, they will. If they don't want to find something, they won't. And I believe the same thing is true with like Matt Weiss and that whole situation. Obviously, we kind of saw that laid out. But again, like, Michigan media is, again, sometimes defending the university, but then in an effort to still maintain status with their fans that they continue to kind of take advantage of, they need to prove that they had it first and they were early with all this.
There's that.
So, but this is going to hurt the university, I think. I mean, I think coaches finding out that their university boosters, hired lawyers, and private investigators to look into everything. I think that hurts the type of job that I think a lot of Michigan people think it is.
So what changed? I do believe that the girl stepped up, and that's kind of part of what John U. Bacon had said. I had heard about 2 weeks ago-ish, so around the same time, that her dad had gotten involved in this. So that...
Oh, and her dad, the alleged girl's dad, is a longtime scout for the Bears.
Once that happened, that became a little bit more clear that they were maybe going to have her support in one way or another as far as coming clean about this whole scenario. But outside of those things that I just said, yeah, I've heard a lot of the things that are rumors out there. Again, none of them have come to light. Like we've reached kind of the point, unlike the whole Connor Stallion Signgate thing, where I was talking directly with Connor and knew more than, we still have, not even really talked about fully, but like knew more. This is a different scenario, kind of where it's like, okay, I had a baseline understanding of what this was. And there's more rumors out there, but nothing like egregious compared to what we've already heard, which is already very egregious. This is a scenario where it's like, okay, now we all kind of know the same thing as far as what the facts are, but we don't need to go further, right? Like there's
an uncomfortable story as we learn more and more about the Sherrone Moore stuff, and I am wondering how Michigan media is going to handle it. I do want to play this Crane and Company episode, just trying to give some context, some commentary to the whole thing. I don't love this show. I think generally speaking, they're pretty lazy in regards to kind of how they do some of their stuff, but high budget show. But I'm curious to see how they will handle this.
In a way. And today we had...
I think here's my issue with Crane and Company. Their whole thing, their whole shtick, I think is too rage baity. I think it's lazy in terms of how they decide to rage bait. And 3, I think the co-host, whenever I've watched, don't do enough except for kind of put themselves in their own ecosystem and just like repeat the same takes kind of in a circle too often to me.
Planned.
Meaning, like, that can happen sometimes when you don't talk to enough people on the outside, or you don't form your own independent opinions because you've been so lazy with like how your show is written.
To put out a video on should Diego Pavia win the Heisman. We had it all set up, ready to go. It's a great conversation between him, Fernando Mendoza, Julian Sayin, and Jeremiah Love. But unless you've been living under a rock or you just landed on the planet, some of the craziest college football news that I've ever seen and we've ever seen was broken last night and added on to. Now, we did a preliminary video we released yesterday on the Sherrone Moore situation, and it got even crazier. And David Cohn, former Michigan quarterback, is here as
yeah. He's horrible. He's horrible. But here I am listening to it. But I think the way he conveys points is not ideal. I think he operates in an era where he thinks that like nobody can do what he does in terms of like creation. And I think that frustrates me the most about him.
Usual. So is my brother, former Western State Colorado wide receiver Blaine Crane. And there's been some more developments. And David, again, I said this yesterday when we did the emergency pod. This is something, and kudos to you, because lesser men would have tried to make this public before and catch a lot of fame and clicks off of it. But, you had been hearing these things. Apparently you're not.
You don't get a pass for letting a coach be a scumbag when you've heard something when the rumors are already out there. That is my biggest fucking issue with this whole thing. It's like everybody that knew about it and chose to like not say anything and not talk about it, they all want to come out and like get on their like moral high horse now about how these things are so bad. It's like, big dog, like that's not being a man. No, like what?
Not the only one who had been hearing these things, and you waited for it to become public to say what you knew. And yesterday you filled in a lot of blanks for people if they haven't seen that video.
That's not a good thing. That's not a good thing when you know someone in a position of leadership at your university is doing things that will be frowned upon. And if it's true that like the stalking, the alleged stalking and the mistreatment, like if all this stuff is true and you knew about all this and you held it close to the vest, like what the fuck? Like all that is like enabling. I can't believe he gave him flowers for that off the rip. That is absurd.
But it has now gotten worse. As let's just throw the mugshot up there. You can see it. Sherrone Moore has been detained. He is, I believe, still in custody. And again, I want to make sure We go by London rules here. Moscow rules, watch your back. London rules, watch your ass. We're going to use the word allegedly, things like that. Because, again, we have not heard Sherrone Moore's side of the story on this. We do live in the United States of America where you get to tell both sides. So we're going off the information we have, and this is alleged. But, David, if you want to rehash a little bit of what you said yesterday and then get into what you have heard, the details on the arrest, the alleged assault charge, things like that. And we're also going to talk about who Michigan will replace him with because there's some very interesting coaching candidates. I know you got the odds pulled up over there, but
I also hate that this show is so well produced and they only have he's probably the only plus personality on the show. It's so well produced and he's the only plus, and I don't think he's good enough to be a 1. Just speaking in terms of super entertainment value. If the ones in the world are Jake Budd and Josh Pate. I know I don't love Piquel, but Piquel, guys like that, those are all 1s. I think he would be a 2 to one of those guys.
Well,
go ahead, Cone.
Well, the first thing that I want to say, and I may say it several times throughout this episode, and I know I said it yesterday, this is a very sad situation, right? That's a broken man right there. That's a broken man with a family, with a wife, with 3 daughters, and my heart goes out for him. We said a prayer for him at our dinner table yesterday. I would really encourage anyone listening and everyone across this country to do the same. I mean, honestly, and that's got to be the first place that we start above football. We're talking about an individual who possibly threatened to take his own life and someone else's life, okay? And we can get into the details on that. Like I told you yesterday, I got a call driving back up here to Nashville following the Oklahoma game from a very credible source, someone who's tied in with the program, not someone who's just a college football fan who gets disappointed after a loss.
Okay. Oklahoma game. So let's talk about how long he heard about this. And that's the thing that's happening with all the Michigan people is there's this run to prove that we heard it first, and nobody fucking spoke up about it. And now they want kind of flowers for not speaking up about it. All right, so what week was that? Oklahoma game. Let's see. Oklahoma. This is ridiculous, dude. This is why okay. So Oklahoma, Michigan was 9-6, right? Oklahoma, Michigan was 9-6.
That there was evidence that Sherrone Moore had engaged in an inappropriate sexual relationship with a...
So you're saying there was evidence way back when. Okay, so you're acknowledging that there's evidence back then, and someone that's really tied in with the program told you this. And how are you then going to spin it and say the university didn't know about it till right now? Right?
Very credible source, someone who's tied in with the program.
Someone who's tied in with the program said that there's evidence back in September 6th.
Not someone who's just a college football fan who gets disappointed after a loss, that there was evidence that Sherrone Moore had engaged in an inappropriate sexual relationship with a staff member who he had elevated and promoted up through the ranks, and that relationship possibly resulted in a pregnancy that was then terminated. Okay, this is what I heard.
So he heard all of this September 6th is what he's telling you. He heard all of this September 6th. Oh my gosh. All right. So then explain to us how this is not a cover-up.
Following the Oklahoma loss. I followed up on this with a couple different people, and anytime that I would hear someone say, I've heard similar things, I would hear someone else say, that always happens with college football coaches when they lose a game. I just watched LSU try to fire Brian Kelly with cause and not pay him $54 million, and I watched Ole Miss fans come out of the woodwork and say very similar things, quite frankly, about Lane Kiffin. And that's a little bit more in his MO, right? Sure. I mean, I'm not accusing him of anything, but I'm just saying we've seen this at times, and I certainly didn't want to be an individual who was responsible for ruining a man's life, particularly if that story was not true, sure. if those were not facts. But then also this show and everything that you guys have built and this company that we work for, and to be ostracized from the Michigan.
Okay, Jesus, bro, just fucking get to it.
Program forever. So I tried behind the scenes to do my due diligence. Apparently a lot of other people were as well, because that's when I started to be able to corroborate certain things. And again, after the USC loss, I heard similar information, right? Again, but it's a lost football game. Obviously the entire internet blew up following the loss to the Buckeyes, but Ward Manuel, the athletic director, didn't move on that right away, and Sherrone Moore just gave a press conference following the signing day on Monday to address.
So you were hearing this. You were hearing this in September 6th. Not just hearing it from someone, not a fan, you said, someone plugged in with the university who said he had seen evidence. You then spent time corroborating this evidence, and you think that Michigan didn't have. All right, so here we go. He hasn't said that he doesn't think Michigan had. I'm curious to know, because he's a Michigan guy, I'm curious to know what possibly could be his defense for Michigan this year.
Rest of the media and say there were going to be no more coaching changes. Ironically, you know, we're having a head coaching change. obviously a lot of people are going to be asking the question, what did Warren Manuel know and when did he know it? This is where I want to go to John U. Bacon right now, because I don't think there's a more credible source as it relates to the University of Michigan football.
This is disgustingly stupid. What he's about to say is, well, John U. Bacon said that there wasn't evidence until the girl flipped, and she flipped, and that's what made the whole thing present. But the issue with that is if he had been hearing it from credible people with evidence, his words with evidence, that there was a pregnancy and there was inappropriate relationships and everybody knew about it, then there's no, oh my God, the John U. Bacon thing, that literally could come from the administration, like, hey, like, cover our backs on this.
Then John,
so either he's lying or someone else is lying.
U. Bacon, he posted this an hour ago. He said, more information. UM conducted an internal investigation interviewing both Sherrone Moore and the employee in question separately, I presume, this past summer. Both said no way, no how anything was happening between them, which didn't give UM much to go on. Yep. That account apparently flipped yesterday morning. I've heard that the staffer allegedly played ball, like this report says, for a long time, and maybe her father got involved. And if he did, good for him.
For sure.
If he did, good for him as the father of 2 daughters, and said, no, this can no longer.
This is such an easy fucking, like, this is the most annoying thing that you see with, like, arrogant media heads. This is, like, literally like them telling you stuff and just thinking you're too fucking stupid to see through it, dog. Because, like, this whole time, so someone else said there was evidence and it was not heard till the morning, and it's like, well, the university, oh my, like, what a frustrating thing. So there's been evidence since September. You know what it is? It's like, and I said this on the main show. It's like with these investigations, just like how, like, Michigan looked into Matt Weeks and then let him coach the game, and then they found stuff, then they dismissed him. It's like, is Michigan really looking into, like, are these investigations, are they really looking to have something? Are they looking to have plausible deniability until they can no longer have plausible deniability? That's what this feels like. But for him to sit here and say, oh yeah, that's what happened, like, the university didn't know, but I knew, and everybody else knew, and people with program, whatever ties knew, everybody knew except for me. I mean, even that's ridiculous. That's ridiculous.
Longer continue. Apparently, after Sherrone Moore was and said, no, this can no longer continue. Apparently, after Sherrone Moore was told one-on-one by Warren Manuel that he was fired, he went apoplectic and apparently threatened to take his own life, either in front of his wife or possibly allegedly broke into the house of the staffer, threatening to take her life and possibly his own life, which resulted in an arrest by an apartment complex, fellas, that I lived in when I was at Michigan, on Ann Arbor, Saline Road. Like, again, these are people and communities that we're talking about here.
Well, and to me, and again, it's not condoning this, Sherrone Moore, if it was just the relationship with the girl that got him fired, that would not be a first in college athletics. That would not be a first in professional athletics. We see it happen all the time, where relationships within an organization lead to the firing, especially if that individual is married and stuff like that, of a head coach. It's what happened after that, I think, has given this story just an extra oomph of tragedy and just awfulness. I don't know another way to explain it. So, and again, it is alleged, but from what you know, obviously Warren Manuel had a conversation with Sherrone Moore telling him, hey, you're fired, and this is why. I'm sure Sherrone Moore probably knew why before he even told him why. So then he freaks out, goes back to his house where his wife is, and says, I'm going to kill myself, and then leaves and goes over to this girl's house and tries to break in to possibly kill her. That is another level of,
there's a lot
that is
going
snapping.
on. There's a lot going on the internet right now, right? Yeah. And everybody's coming up with a different variation of the story. I've heard, like, the essence of what you just said and what I said before is what I've heard from credible sources. And again, I'll go to...
And they wouldn't arrest you for nothing.
I'll go back to John U. Bacon here again. And this was from, he has a post from 11 hours ago and then an update 4 hours ago from reliable sources. The UM employee presented irrefutable documentation about Moore's conduct to U of M leaders this morning. So that would have been yesterday morning. The president and regents had seen enough, and Manuel fired him yesterday afternoon. Moore is now detained in protective custody in a mental health institution. Potential update / correction. Moore is being protected by mental health professionals around the clock, but I've heard different reports as to where. Might be a distinction without a difference, but I wanted to clarify.
Just want to know, insider or not, man, like, fuck me, dude.
I mean,
this is just crazy, man.
I've thank you, this guy. He's like the third. It's like not very great at the whole football analysis thing, but every now and again he'll pop up with a take that'll either make you laugh, and then when it hits a little bit further down the road, it's like, oh shit, like, he's got it. I do like that they use lapel mics too. Sick. It's great. It sounds really good too.
The question that's going to turn into, that everybody's going to ask, is when did Warren Manuel know?
Yes.
When did everybody actually know? Was this a real thing? Did they wait for after signing day before letting this guy go?
The John U. Bacon report, to me, feels like an attempt to try to alleviate some pressure on when they knew for sure, like the concrete thing. But, I mean, the Cohen dude kind of talked himself a little bit into kind of a slight hole, right? By saying, like, that back in September, people knew. Like, that's where he maybe messed up. And so, honestly, he's got to ask him the fucking question. Okay, so you're telling me you knew in September, but they didn't know in September? How? Like, please hold his feet to the fire.
Did they tell the recruits that they signed? That's the information, which I don't know. I don't know if...
No, that's not the question. Ask Cohn, how is it that he knew in September, but the university didn't know in September? That's the only question that needs to be asked here.
Anybody knows, really. Will we find out? Because I'm not one of those guys who's just going to jump the gun and say that, well, they knew.
Yeah, well, here's what I think on that.
Here's the thing. You don't have to jump the gun and say you knew. Your co-host just say that he was able to corroborate, whatever the fucking word is, some of the information that he was given, and he was also told that there was already evidence. So you don't have to say, oh, the university knew. The guy sitting 2 chairs over from you said that they had evidence in September and that he was able to double check on some things and get the same answers. So, like, if he's able to conduct an investigation, how is nobody in the building that's performing an internal investigation, how do they not have the intel to know what was going on until finally she says, okay, yes?
You tell me if you think I'm wrong. And again, this is all alleged. I'm not going to sit here and say I know this for a fact. I'm just following the bouncing balls here. I just don't think it's a coincidence that signing day was so recent. The coach had been under investigation.
Thank you. He's been under investigation, and you, to the left of me, we're also doing your own, like, individual investigation, individual looking around. You're able to find some of the things that are coming out now that you're telling us.
Right, to a point where I believe you had heard some rumors that players had asked leadership.
I heard some of the recruits asked, is Sherrone Moore under investigation? And legally, they had to tell them yes. I don't know that for a fact, but then if that's the case, there needs to be language in the NLI with your national letter of intent that states that they can get out of recruiting. And again,
not just NLI, but NIL too. Right?
So now we're talking about a week has gone by, and the kids were told, the kids that were there, the kids coming in were told that that Sherrone Moore, their head coach, was under investigation. That
100%. And look, this is a rolling thing. We might
again. This is making Michigan, like, he's making Michigan look worse. Like, his need to be right is making Michigan look worse.
find out people are decommitting left and right. I don't know. And at this point, like I said, all of that's secondary. Who the next head coach is, and which recruits are going to bail, and is Bryce Underwood. Like, we're talking about a man who possibly, allegedly, is threatening to take his own life.
And we know we're trying to talk about how the university may have enabled this and to get to this point. And, like, you keep skirting around that because I think both of them have kind of asked you point blankly, like, if you knew, or they need to ask point blankly, if you knew, how did the university not know?
No.
You know, and that's the part that's just, you know, as a human being, you screwed up. You obviously screwed up, but it's hard not.
It's getting them off topic.
To feel empathetic if it's gotten to that point. You talk about a fall, the quickest fall from grace I've seen in a while. Also, me personally, this has gotten so bad, regardless if Ward Manuel handled this perfectly or not, I don't know how he's not fired.
See,
like, some things are just...
Let's get into that then. Let's get into that. Because
it's tough, but, like, we've seen it.
I mean, I don't think Ward Manuel should be held to account for someone else's actions, just for someone else's actions. Right?
I do agree.
Like, this idea that what the head coach did was so bad, we have to clean house with everyone. I don't think that is right. Did Ward Manuel's actions, does that deserve a termination? And it sounds like the regents are having a call today. I've heard a lot of the regents were taken aback by this. Now, when the internet started going crazy after the Ohio State loss, apparently some of the regents were made aware, but said, I still don't think that this is true. And then another investigation was completed yesterday morning. But again, if you're the athletic...
Okay, so another investigation. So 2 separate investigations. But he knew, guys. He knew this was going on back in September.
Director and your Ward Manual, right? Like, every single rumor that comes to your door, like, you can't just, open an investigation every single time you hear some rumor, no matter how salacious, right? So at what point did Ward Manuel get enough evidence where he said, okay, this is credible, I need to run with this? John Bacon is saying that there was some sort of investigation done this summer where Sherrone and the staffer in question were both interviewed, and she, for lack of a better phrase, played ball, right? Mm-hmm. At that, if you did that as the athletic director, you've done some sort of due diligence, right? And if she maintained that story, and I've heard she said
the issue is, how were you told about the evidence, and how were you able to corroborate things, and yet nobody from the University of Michigan was? That's the big question here.
Relationship was platonic and it was not sexual in nature. If she's not the one coming forward and the wife doesn't know anything about it, like, what more do you want from that?
And again, I that's the sad part, is I'm not even saying that Ward Manuel could have handled this beautifully, but some disasters are so big, you've got to fire the top. Like we've seen that in other businesses. Like it's just the nature of the beast. And again, I feel for him if that ends up happening. Now, if he didn't handle this right, obviously he's going to get fired. We'll continue.
I'll tell you what I have a real problem with, though, is if Ward Manuel knew that there was conduct that should result in a firing of the head football coach, and he sat on that to say, well, we're 9-2. Let's wait and see if we beat the Buckeyes. Because at that point, we could not only be in the Big Ten championship, we could possibly be in the college football playoff, at which case we'll take a different course and maybe sex addiction.
Now, I know that we've got a different responsibility here, but, like, it's funny that he's saying that, like, he should never sat on that. And I know, obviously, it's different responsibility because Ward's the boss and he's not the boss. But he's someone with Michigan ties, I presume, does a lot for the program. I mean, a big media personality. He also is claiming at the beginning of this video that he had the information as well and sat on it and got praise for sitting on it until he knew 100% for certain, meaning that, like, both people, like, came forward and said that they played ball, allegedly.
In rehab or something like if you were making your decision based off the on-field performance, I have a real problem with that.
They're definitely, like, super different, like, responsibility, but it's like end goal, beginning goal, kind of in the ethos of things.
You guys that for a long time now with all these different coaching situations. The recruiting thing, again, and similarly, if you were just waiting until the recruit signed, then that also is problematic. I just have a hard time believing he let Sherrone Moore go to the podium this past week and hire. I mean, they made a new hire for special teams. Yeah. The former Ohio State defensive coordinator. I have a hard time believing he's letting him do that if he knew 3 weeks ago that he was going to fire him.
Yeah, and again, this is everything that has to get sorted out. There's another thing I want to ask you that you've found out as well, and again, I will use the word alleged. And this is diabolical if true, that the girl that he was having an affair with on the staff was the one responsible for escorting his wife around the stadium during games?
She was allegedly an administrative assistant, and some of those responsibilities involve assisting with the family on game days. I mean, I don't know how else to say it. And again, we're getting to a point now where the story is so crazy that you can add any other little detail to it that makes it worse, and you don't know the difference between an internet rumor and a troll. And that's why I'm trying my best to use credible sources from people who care about the program. Yeah. These are people who want the best for Michigan football and who want the best for Michigan moving forward, and think that this is the best.
Just real quickly, people that shield the program from this kind of thing and constantly excuse the misconduct of Michigan, those are the people that want the best for the program. That's the people that want their football team to keep winning.
Way to do it. Hey, this is a stain. Let's own up to it and let's move forward and let's try.
This is a stain. Let's own up to it. Michigan's literally never owned up to any of the stains. They've never owned up to anything. Anything.
And think that this is the best way to do it.
You are part of the fucking problem. You've never owned up to anything.
Hey, this is a stain. Let's own up to it and let's move forward and let's try and get this man help.
Yeah. I have two more for you, Conan. Again, I appreciate you being willing to say this. I know this sucks, being a former Michigan player and stuff like that, but it needs, again, this is our job. This is what we're supposed to do. The first thing is, I don't see a world in which, regardless of what some of these players, including Bryce Underwood's NIL contract says, that if they want to leave, they're going to give them any problem. I don't know how you would. I think it's going to be carte blanche. If you want to go, listen, we're not going to press, because it's so, just the way this is escalated too. I just see no world in which
it's messy. Michigan's not going to hold anybody's feet to the fire if they want to leave. Like, never, ever, ever. That'd be just like suicide if they did.
They would try and hold up somebody from because the PR and optics would be.
Yeah, no, and if you do want to get a little bit into the football side of it, and what my opinion is on that, you need to go hire the best football coach in America. Yeah. And then if those recruits don't want to play for the winningest program in the history of the sport, and hopefully whatever great coach you've hired, then leave. The best thing for Michigan football moving forward is to hire the best football coach, and let Dusty May on the basketball side is proving this right now. Kirk Cignetti at Indiana is proving this right now. Players now these days can come and go, and even if we lose great players, they need to hire a great football coach, and quite honestly, someone who does fit the Michigan man mantra, someone who can come in there with integrity, because scandal after scandal, that's just not what this university stands for.
Yeah, and the last thing, and
Kirk Cignetti at Indiana is proving this right now. Players now these days can come and go, and even if we lose great players, they need to hire a great football coach, and quite honestly, someone who does fit the Michigan man mantra.
Can someone in the comments please tell me what the Michigan man mantra is? Because it feels like the whole Michigan man thing is like, it's time to retire that. We've just gone through a generational run of like ridiculous things coming out of Michigan, like on and off the football field. We gotta retire that. In fact, I think anybody outside of Ann Arbor, if you ask about the Michigan man thing, not even just Ohio State fans, the SEC fans, look, it's like, what the fuck? Michigan men?
who can come in there with integrity, because scandal after scandal, that's just not what this university stands for.
Yeah.
I mean, scandal after scandal legitimately is what this university is standing for. They are. I mean, they fought back every chance they could at every scandal along the way. They've done a collective grouping of shady things. Like, this university has stood for scandal after scandal. They have. Have they not?
And the last thing, and again, I'm asking you this as a brother more than a friend, because I mean we've been in this long enough to consider you a brother, and I think this question needs to be asked. You know, we hear a lot about the Michigan standard and being a Michigan man. After what's happened with Juwan Howard punching the other coach or slapping him, the Connor Stallion stuff, which was overblown. We've talked about that a million times, and then this.
Okay, it's funny because like the Connor Stallion thing can be overblown, but if someone holds integrity to the highest standard, which Michigan men claim they do, then any undercutting of that integrity should mean the end of the world. So yeah, it could be overblown, but it's like, wait a second, if we preach integrity, it's the number one thing as a Michigan man, how can you like excuse that? Also, like, talk about integrity with the media around Michigan. Like, everybody let Alex Ude just like get off with nothing at all, with no criminal charges, no anything. Like, everyone just excused like the racist remark. Everyone just excused everything.
How big of a hit is this to the reputation of Michigan, you know, as being not the moral superior?
It's not a hit to the reputation in terms of anything. It's just a cherry on top of the reputation that they've built for 5 years. The reputation that Michigan's built for the last at least 2 to 3 years. This is just a cherry on top. This is the cement. It doesn't tear down it's not a hit to the reputation. They made their bed. The tear down to this reputation is going to be to start doing good things for once.
How big of a hit is this to the reputation of Michigan, you know, as being not the moral superior? I'm not saying that, but that's something that's synonymous with Michigan. Is there's a certain way that
it's not synonymous with Michigan anymore. They look like the dirtiest program in the entire nation, yo. Like, I'm embarrassed. That's my rival.
you handle yourself and
100%.
represent the university. Like, how bad has that been?
100%. I talked to several teammates last night. They call me they're frustrated because this reflects poorly on them and what they've gone forward to do in their lives as well. But Michigan men and the people at the University of Michigan are still going to hold themselves to the highest standards, as they should. And that's all you can do moving forward in life.
This is such fucking virtue signaling. This is like the shittiest thing, dude. Like no, they're not holding themselves to the highest standard. Nobody is. You self-admittedly like had this information and chose to sit on it. A bunch of people had this information and chose to sit on it, like, tied to Michigan. Like, they have not held themselves to the highest standard. Like, fucking, they had Connor Stallions around and, like, they all fucking defended, like, the whole fucking blue wall. Like Michigan people covered up the whole Alex Ude thing. Like, hold themselves to the highest standard? They have not done that. They've been so fucking horrible the last 3 years. No one at the university is holding themselves to the highest standard. Literally nobody. Nobody.
Life is acknowledge your wrongdoings, and look, again, I'm going to be praying for this man. I
They
would encourage
don't acknowledge the wrongdoings. Dear Lord, this is so frustrating. This is some crazy, like, this is like what I say, this is like what I'm talking about when I say, like, some people in this media scope talk to you, the listener, like, talk to, like, people in the communities, like they're fucking idiots. Like, they pull the wool over their eyes. I've talked to a bunch of people. No one sits here and it's like, yeah, University of Michigan, gold standard for everything. What the fuck? That is insane. Like, the same people, like the same Michigan people, the same Michigan conglomerate that fucking attacked Tressel up and down, called him a cheater for every which way, for some tattoos, trading jerseys for tattoos. But, Ohio State players, make millions of dollars, so they should have been able to pay for tattoos, but no one's talking about that. But, like, anyway, like tear down Jim Tressel and everything that he did, an actual good community builder, and they will prop up and say, oh, yeah, like, this scandal is not the Michigan way, and, like, doing things, not to the degree of whatever is not the Michigan way. Oh, no, integrity matters to us. Like, what the fuck? How can you continue to pull the wool over your listeners' eyes? Like he really thinks the listeners are fucking idiots.
Everyone else to do the same. And hopefully there was nothing more diabolical behind the scenes. Hopefully this is just an Occam's razor situation with the timing of it. We'll find out more about that. We may find out more about that before this video even posts. But I'm praying for this individual, this family, and for the program that I shed blood, sweat, and tears for. And hopefully moving forward, they can put this behind them and we'll move forward together.
Is there anything else you want to add?
Just that, man. I truly mean it when I say, like, let's focus on getting this man the help that he needs first. Because if it's true.
Give me a fucking break, dude. I can't stand this Michigan shit. That was like my first hate watch I've done. Sorry, guys. I'll be back. I'll like and sub, all that fun stuff.